Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the channel. So we're coming up on the Royal Rumble next weekend. So I figured I would take a look at who I think are some outside possibilities beyond the clear favorite to win both Rumbles. Right now, Cody Rhodes is the favorite for the Men's Rumble. Rhea Ripley has a lot of people thinking that she's going to win the Women's Rumble. I did a different video for the men. You can check that out up here or somewhere. I put the link up here. But on this episode, I'm going to focus on the Women's Rumble. Now, the big difference between these two Rumbles is that I feel like in the Men's Rumble, there are at least 4 or 5 names that could conceivably win the Royal Rumble, given that there's an undisputed title situation where we'll probably see the titles be split prior to WrestleMania. So that throws a lot of things up in the air. However, in the Women's Rumble, given that there's a Raw Women's Champion and there's a SmackDown Women's Champion, I feel like it actually precludes a lot of the top names from having any reason to win the Royal Rumble. So right now, Rhea Ripley is the favorite according to the betting odds. And so I was looking at the betting odds here and I was trying to come up with a reason that anybody but Rhea Ripley could win this Rumble, like with the top 10 names here in the actual betting odds. We're going to go over these names here. So number 1 is Rhea Ripley. Makes all the sense in the world, right? She hasn't won the Rumble before, I don't think. And she's incredibly popular right now. She's sort of teasing doing some intergender stuff. She's also had a couple like little half stare downs with Bianca Belair. She's booked incredibly strong. Rhea Ripley makes all the sense in the world. Plus Triple H obviously loves the hell out of Judgment Day. They are all over Raw. And Rhea Ripley's like the most popular person in Judgment Day. She is sort of the women's version of Seth Rollins. She's basically the most popular act on the women's side of WWE these days. So let's take a look at the next set of names here. We've got next up Becky Lynch. Now let's think about Becky Lynch for a second. She's a Raw superstar. So if she wins the Rumble, chances are she'd be facing off against whoever the Raw Women's Champion is. Right now, and I don't see this changing for the foreseeable future, that is Bianca Belair. They have already gone through like a year-long feud. They're both like sort of the top faces of the women's division. Neither of those matchups make a lot of sense. Her and Charlotte had a really awkward encounter where they had to trade titles. Charlotte's on a different brand. I just don't see Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair mixing it up over the SmackDown Women's Championship. Although, given that Bianca Belair and Becky are both sort of fulfilling that same role as top face on Raw, maybe they would ship Becky Lynch over to SmackDown, but Charlotte's a good guy now. I don't think that they would just go ahead and have Becky Lynch face off against good guy Charlotte or just turn Charlotte into a bad guy for the reason of going into WrestleMania. They don't really have to turn her anything, but she would sort of naturally fit that role anyways. So Becky Lynch actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me unless they were like, well, Becky's popular, let's have her win the Rumble and then worry about it after that. That doesn't really seem to be Triple H's thing. So I think that Becky Lynch is probably not a good pick to win the Rumble. The next name on this list here on the betting odds is Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is already champion, so unless they wanted to really double down on the whole lol Charlotte wins thing, I guess they could have her declare for the Rumble and say, hey, as champion, I'm going to run through this Rumble because nobody's ever done that before. I guess that's a possibility, but I just don't really see it happening because, again, it just makes so much more sense for somebody to win the Women's Rumble to actually get that WrestleMania main event spot. Let's move on to the next one, Bayley. She is also coming off of a really, really long feud against the women's champion in her brand, Bianca Belair. She had months and months and months. It was like from SummerSlam until just like a month ago. Bayley was feuding with Bianca Belair, and she failed at every opportunity to capture that title. So her winning the Rumble and sticking with Raw doesn't make a lot of sense. Could she then feud with Charlotte Flair, who, as I just said, is a good guy on SmackDown? That's a possibility and would give her some fresh matchups, but it's also kind of obvious that her and Becky Lynch are going to have some sort of thing possibly heading into WrestleMania. Let's move on to the next name on this list, Alexa Bliss. Now, she could do the thing that I said Kevin Owens could do. She could lose to Bianca Belair, reinsert herself in the Rumble, and then win the Rumble and get another shot at Bianca Belair. The problem is she's still in the middle of whatever this transformation is, where that involves Uncle Howdy, and I don't really know how that'll play out. I guess she could eventually reach her final form at WrestleMania against Bianca Belair in a rematch. in case this match, Alexa Bliss versus Bianca Belair at the Rumble, ends up being some sort of weird wonky finish because of Uncle Howdy. So there's a possibility there. It's just, I don't know if the crowd is sort of into Alexa Bliss as she currently is for them to care and make that a big WrestleMania match. I just don't see it right now, but I guess it's sort of more possible than any of the other names that I've already talked about. Next up on this list is Raquel Rodriguez. She's just too new and has like zero connection with the crowd. I feel like she is sort of just has a story with Liv Morgan where one of the other is going to end up eliminating the other one out of the Rumble because Liv Morgan, to be honest, it'll probably be a situation where Raquel Rodriguez is going to enter at number 2. Liv Morgan will be number 1, so they'll get to continue the thing they had going back a week or so. Next up on the list, it's kind of a wild card, Asuka. Now, I don't know what's going on with Asuka. I imagine she's probably going to make her return at the Rumble as some sort of darker clown version of Asuka, sort of what we got with her Kana character before NXT when she was still in Japan. We've never really seen Asuka as that character. We've seen a heel Asuka before, misting people and whatnot, and the crowd really liked it. And I think they'd probably get behind a really darker, creepier version of Asuka. But that's kind of too much of a wild card for me to understand, okay, is this a viable opponent for Bianca Belair? Personally, I think it'd be kind of cool. Maybe also against Charlotte, and she can get that win that she had lost to Charlotte at WrestleMania before. I think that's actually a really cool idea. I'd love to see it. I just don't know if they'd actually go all in on that idea, although I really like that idea. The next name on this list is Liv Morgan. She's determined to come in at number 1, which almost guarantees she's not going to win the thing, although I guess they could sort of have their first women's Rumble where somebody comes in at number 1 and lasts the entire time, because that's happened only a very small handful of times on the men's side of things. Next up on the list is Bianca Belair. Again, she could do the thing that Charlotte does. Claire for the Rumble, say nobody else has done this, so I'm going to run the entire thing and then have her win, but I don't really see that happening either. Next up is Sasha Banks. There's no way she's coming back to the company before WrestleMania, especially now with Vince McMahon in charge. I would not be shocked to see Sasha Banks come back if Vince McMahon is gone. Until then, she is not coming back to the company. And then finally on the list that I've got here, we've got Ronda Rousey. I think Ronda Rousey is a possibility, but she just lost her title to Charlotte Flair. She has said she wants nothing to do with Charlotte from this point on. And she's even said in interviews that she doesn't really want to be involved in the title scene. So I don't really see Ronda Rousey doing that either. I kind of suspect they're going to go with Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler at WrestleMania if they do something like that, or you'll get Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus like Damage Control for like the tag team titles possibly. That could actually be a lot of fun for them to do. So yeah, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't see a road for anybody else to win the Rumble besides Rhea Ripley. If you guys do, let me know in the comments below. What do you think about that? Who do you think has a viable story winning the Rumble and heading to WrestleMania against either Charlotte or Bianca Belair? Let me know in the comments below. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. Check out the same video I did for the men over here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you over there.